Welcome back to iUniverse Radio with host Steve Jorgensen.
The title of the book, A New Beginning for Humankind, a recipe for lasting peace on earth. And the author is RB Herath. And we welcome RB to iUniverse Radio. Hello, RB.
Hi, Steve. Nice to be on your program.
Great to have you with us. Let me read what you've written about your book before we start discussing the details. You say this: the world is reaching a nuclear tipping point and a catastrophe looms. Even the United Nations can't seem to do anything about the threat. Given the circumstances, people everywhere need to unite to prevent a disaster. In this new study, peace activist RB Herath explains what's at stake and what everyday people can do to solve the problem. Well, that's great to have some solutions. I think we see a lot of problems in the world. Well, first of all, RB, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then tell us, how did you come to write this book?
I see this book as an end product of my lifelong search for a way for humans to coexist without major conflicts and wars. Maybe I need to explain this, then you can understand me too. I first grew up in Sri Lanka amidst rising ethnic tension there. Even as a young person, I understood that this situation was created by the ethnocentric identity politics in the country. The remedy, I thought, even as a young boy, was to ensure the civil, human, and political rights of the entire citizenry. Then, Steve, as a young adult and a student leader, I began to fight for these rights in my high school and university days. And some years later, when the country was finally taken with a separatist war, I founded and led the new political party in the country, providing a political platform for change to genuine democracy with equal rights and freedoms for all Sri Lankans. After the separatist war broke out regardless, and the general election due in 1983 was also cancelled, I left the country in 1984. Ever since, I have lived outside. In all, I have lived in several countries in 4 continents, Steve. All this time, I kept my eyes and ears open to grasp the real driving forces behind major human conflicts, wherever they occurred, and the lessons we could learn from each of them. All this led me to write a number of books, Steve. One published in 2002 proposed a political solution to end the Sri Lankan crisis peacefully. Of course, as you know, it didn't happen that way. It ended up in real war. Among the other books I wrote, there was also a book of poems for children with a message of love, peace, and unity. The new book, A New Beginning for Humankind, was in my mind for decades now. However, all early attempts to start writing it ended up in procrastination. All this changed on the day I laid my eyes on my first grandchild, Chantal. Needless to say, I was overwhelmed with joy to see the new addition to the family. At the same time, however, I was struck with some pain and agony, thinking of the potential dangers of a global nuclear disaster she may have to endure if a third world war broke out in her lifetime. This gave me the extra motivation I badly needed to write this book. That's how the book came about, Steve.
RB, who does the book appeal to and why?
Well, I believe the book will appeal to peace activists, scholars, and organizations, and students and researchers of political science, journalists, and, of course, general readers interested in peace and security, world affairs, politics, military affairs, wars, and history. And there are 4 striking features in the book, I believe, Steve, attract them. The most updated information about ongoing major crises in the world, the hidden threats to world peace which we don't normally see, and blatant limitations of the present means of conflict resolution, and a creative novel approach for the future. So, I feel the book, because of these features, this book will definitely attract those people I mentioned. Thank you.
Why do you think that the world is gearing up for World War III and that it could end up in a nuclear holocaust?
Well, it is a very good question. That brings me to the heart of my main analysis in this book, Steve. In my research for this book, I found that some of the ongoing major conflicts in the world indeed have the dire potential to deteriorate into a global fiasco, given the right conditions. The conflicts of most concern to me were the ones between Israelis and Palestinians, Israel and Iran, India and Pakistan, and between North Korea and its adversarial neighbors. And Steve, I also found that the changing world dynamics over the coming years and decades are not going to help us. On the contrary, they would only worsen the situation. And sadly, I see the world getting back to a multipolar regime as in the 19th century in Europe that finally led to the dark periods of massacres and wars, culminating in World War I and World War II. So, because of all these reasons, I believe the chances for some of the existing conflicts, or even a new one, to deteriorate into a worldwide fiasco are real. The main thinking behind such arguments that nuclear weapons will never be used appears to rest on the assured mutual destruction inevitable in such confrontations. And no doubt, it does install some sense of restraint. However, I don't see that as total restraint. I say that due to many reasons. And first thing, of course, that comes to anybody's mind would be the people who engaged in World War I and World War II never used such constraint or restraint. And then there are also now new concerns that even nuclear weapons could get into the hands of suicide attackers of global reach. At the same time, international wars could be triggered by a human error or an intelligence failure. And now we know that for sure, much better. Now, 2003 Iraqi war is a good example. After all, more and more nations are attempting to develop nuclear weapons, not because there is assurance that such weapons will never be used. I think we should not fool ourselves to think otherwise. Under any event, Steve, the expert opinion has always been that those who possess nuclear weapons would use them in the next World War. For example, in 1995, in their joint manifesto, Bertrand Russell and Albert Einstein, they too said, I quote, "In view of the fact that in any future world war, nuclear weapons will certainly be employed." I repeat that part. Nuclear weapons will certainly be employed, and that such weapons threaten the continued existence of mankind. End of the quote. Then in 2003, as you may remember, former Secretaries of State George Shultz, Henry Kissinger, former U.S. Secretary of Defense William Perry, and former Senator Sam Nunn, based at Stanford University Hoover Institution, said in a joint paper, I quote, "The accelerating spread of nuclear weapons, nuclear know-how, and nuclear material has brought us to a nuclear tipping point." End of the quote. So, of course, because of these reasons only, I believe that we are heading the next world war, and it would be fought with nuclear weapons. Thank you.
RB, won't the existing global checks and balances be sufficient in dealing with the situation you have just described?
Well, Steve, different people can look at this differently. But in my view, certainly not. Look at the most crucial failures of the present global system. And first thing that comes to anybody's mind would be our failure to control nuclear proliferation. And you know, only one nation had nuclear weapons in 1945. And today, 9 nations have developed. And they are stockpiled in 16 nations across the globe. And some others are also trying hard to develop theirs. The fact of the matter, or the open secret, is that all these nuclear weapons, all these stockpiles on the surface of the green planet are more than enough to turn the entire human species into ashes within seconds. Is that all? You can see the present system has even failed to get all nations to comply with the global resolutions passed by the United Nations. Notably, the most powerful nations are among the main culprits. Also, it has failed to prevent many massacres, such as genocides in Rwanda and Darfur, Srebrenica massacre, and so on. And of course, it has even failed to control unilateral global action by powerful nations. 2003 invasion, U.S. invasion of Iraq, 2008 Russian war in Georgia are two good examples. And the fact of the matter is, we have to accept the fact that the world community as such has no control over such situations. That is not all. It has also failed to bring lasting solutions to many all conflicts that are lingering and are posing significant threats to world peace, as the ones I mentioned before. The list of failures indeed continues, and it's a long list. The frightening thing in all this is there is no cohesive plan or program to reverse this trend. As a result, I can see a future of worsening conflicts, continuing growth and distribution of nuclear weapons, and further build-up of world tension, all preparing the world to explode at an appropriate time.
We have about 3 minutes left, RB. What does your book offer in this situation?
Now, first, Steve, we critically examines and assesses the risk levels associated with ongoing conflicts. Then it describes a creative five-fold strategy to prevent the global calamity lying in wait. This strategy primarily aims at reducing global tension and further strengthening of global checks and balances. That is not all. It also lays out a novel, revolutionary approach to lasting peace, with a new beginning for humankind and a steadfast process for its implementation. After all, avoiding wars at the worst of times is certainly not peace. This particular steadfast process will end human traits, habits that promote war and develop those that promote peace. In my analysis, I found there are the worst enemy behind all these ongoing conflicts: greed for scarce resources, social and political vendetta, despotic rule, and identity politics. And what we have to promote is caring and sharing, giving and forgiving and forgetting, accountability or responsibility, and treating the well-being and happiness of every other human just as one's own, irrespective of race, ethnicity, tribe, religion, language, culture, and so on. It's a mind development process, Steve, that will have the ripple effect once you start it. Psychology says that happens in such processes always. It is based on proven processes in other areas of human endeavor, like the modern environmental movement is one of them. Of course, the book explains a few other examples. Every able human can play an important role in this, in an individual capacity or as a member of a group, say family, schoolmates, classmates, workmates, community, nation, and so on. It is a process, Steve, that can transfer the present world of tension, fear, and uncertainty to one of relief, resilience, and lasting peace.
Well, thank you, RB. Thank you for being with us with your book titled A New Beginning for Humankind. Tell us how to get your book.
Well, by ordering through a local bookstore, by contacting the publisher iUniverse directly, or any other major online retail shop, Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, Google Books, books.google.ca, and chapters.indigo.ca, and also order through my private website, rbherath.com. It's not set up for that right now, but it will be there. And at the end, I must say, Steve, we are talking about this book at a very good time. It is a time to order this book. It could be a terrific Christmas gift to a family member or a friend interested in seeing the world more peaceful and resilient. Thank you.
Thank you, RB, for being with us on iUniverse Radio.
Well, thank you for having me on the program.
You're listening to iUniverse Radio. We'll be back right after these messages.